Hey everybody. Today I want to talk about the therapeutic value of art and how important art is for mental health in general. Before I started selling my work, for years I just painted for me, just because I really enjoyed it. And even though I wasn't really trying to find therapeutic relief while I was creating, I still benefited from it. And I don't feel like there's enough content out there about the benefit of art, whether it's playing music, painting, dancing, I don't know, anything, any type of art form. Yeah, so here in our area in the panhandle of Florida, we're kind of sandwiched between two military bases. You've got Eglin and then you've got Tyndall. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of the military community, we have a lot of people who suffer and struggle with PTSD in the local area because of not only the military community, but also, people that are struggling with addiction, have drug problems, other forms of mental illness. And I am a firm believer that the arts have a healing power to them, especially when it comes to anything revolving around neuroplasticity and the brain's ability to remap itself, okay? If you want to do any type of research on neuroplasticity and things that can enhance or just speed up the process of creating and sparking new neural pathways in the brain, a lot of those types of things include anything from acupuncture to experimenting with anything from, like, say, playing a new instrument that you've never played before, or like hand-eye coordination exercise, anything that involves the mind-muscle connection. There's studies that suggest TRX training and things like this really boost new neural pathways in the brain because of that mind-muscle connection that training like that fosters. So there's a very wide range of activities that can spark new neural pathways in the brain. My favorite, though, is playing around with art, experimenting with different mediums, experimenting with instruments, experimenting with dance, anything and everything, really. And another more generic example of an exercise that can spark new neural pathways in the brain is writing with your non-dominant hand. If you're right-handed, try writing your name left-handed, or anything, brushing your teeth left-handed, whatever it may be. So things like this can also accelerate the process of neuroplasticity. That being said, so over the years, I've come up with an exercise that I believe can desensitize the symptoms of PTSD, where somebody is replaying this horrible event in their mind over and over again. Something like it really truly haunts them. And I've suffered from PTSD before. I had a motorcycle accident in the past, and I've had other things happen in my past. I won't necessarily say I have PTSD as a result of those things, but trauma in general. So art and being able to process trauma through art is extremely valuable. So how do you do that? Well, for one thing, art allows you to really kind of like slow down and get in your body and out of your head a little bit. It starts out by basically holding that image in your mind of that horrible event that haunts you, okay? A lot of people are not gonna wanna do this, but if you can, sit with that, okay? Just basically make the choice to play that vision in your head and really sit in that moment and feel what it's like to replay that. Your blood pressure will probably go up as a result. You can kind of feel like adrenaline starting to pump if you really sit in some of these memories. It depends, everybody's different. It could be a lot of soldiers who have gone off to battle and seen some really nasty shit come back, and they remember these things and it haunts them. So it could be something like that, or a car wreck, or something traumatic in your childhood. There's a million different things, right? So anyway, so being able to sit with whatever that is, and really just kind of tune in to your body and your feelings and how your body's reacting to that thing, okay? And then once you're there, once you've been sitting in it for a few minutes and you can really feel that coursing through your body and your mind, this is when I want you to pick your color palette and really pick colors that you tune in to this vision and this experience. Whatever colors seem relatable to that experience, pick those colors, okay? It's a really important piece to this exercise. Once you have your palette chosen, the exercise also involves fluidity, okay? So that can mean working with watercolor. My favorite thing to work with, of course, is resin. And resin is a really great one for this exercise. So if you have access to resin and a space ventilation where you can experiment with resin, use resin for the experiment, okay? Or the exercise. But if you don't, and you don't have the money for resin, or you don't have the space to play around with resin, I would suggest opting for watercolor, because watercolor is cheap. You don't need a well-ventilated area to work with watercolor. Just put down a towel, throw some canvas down, and get your supplies. So the reason the fluidity is so important here is because while you're holding this horrible image in your mind and getting in tune with that experience that you normally would push away or check out of in any way you can, you're sitting in it and you're picking your colors that are associated with that experience. Okay, so once you have that, you start working in a medium with fluidity here. So you're gonna take those colors that you picked, and say you're working with watercolor, you're going to mix water into those colors in different cups, okay? And you've got your canvas, and you're literally just gonna start putting paint on the canvas. Even if it's not watercolor, you can literally just start by slapping some paint on the canvas. Just get started. Remember, this is about the process. It is not about the end result, as all art should be, I believe, about the process, okay? The reason being is you're basically, the theory behind it is you are forcing yourself to sit in that experience and process it. You're literally processing this experience while you're painting and while you're creating. And that only happens in the very beginning. And as you get deeper and deeper into the process and into the paint, you let that image go. You let it dissipate and you fall into the process. And hopefully you fall into enjoyment and enjoying the process. It should be a fun experience after you get past the trauma part of it, okay? And the more you tap into that fun experience, the reason I bring up working with fluidity is important is because a lot of these hard lines that you try to make in art, whether like if you're doing brushwork or even finger painting, if you're working with fluidity, it's going to all blend and do its own thing. It's a very organic process, right? Whether it's resin work, whether it's watercolor, or something similar that involves fluidity. And it's beautiful just to watch the colors do their thing, you know? I mean, that's one reason that I like resin work so much, is because I don't know what I'm gonna get. When I come in the next day, the painting typically has changed, you know? And that excites me, because when I come in the next morning, I'm excited to see what I created. I don't even know what came out of me, you know what I mean? So that's one element that keeps me interested 16 years after I started this journey. So I'm gonna kind of run back through this exercise one time before we actually go into the studio and do it. So here's a little rerun of how it's gonna work. You are going to sit in that trauma, that memory of trauma that haunts you, the thing that causes you symptoms of PTSD. You're actually going to make yourself sit with that image as long as you can. Okay, I know that's asking a lot, but anyway, once you're able to tap into that and truly feel all that trauma in your body and however you're responding to, you might be shaking, you might be whatever, okay? That's when you're gonna pick your colors. And when you pick your colors, you're gonna wanna pick colors that resonate with that experience. And I know right now you've got a lot of negative association with that experience, but by the end of this, we're gonna try to flip that. And over time, the more and more we practice this exercise over and over again, you're going to desensitize to the negative symptoms and negative effects of the trauma. So the way I see it, it's like alchemizing trauma through paint. That's what this exercise is. So while you're picking your colors, you're still holding that image in your head. Then, basically, you're just gonna start painting. You're gonna start slapping paint on the canvas. And once you start actually working with the paint, I want you to drop the memory and drop that whole idea of trauma. Basically, at that point, stop holding space for your trauma and just let that fall to the wayside and just get more into the process, okay? I mean, that might be hard to do too, but you know, just try it. The way this exercise works though is you desensitize to your trauma over time by turning this negative experience into a positive, beautiful creation. Okay, it might not actually turn out to be the most beautiful painting you've ever made at first. It's more about the process and falling in and diving into the process while at the same time processing your trauma. Allowing yourself to really pull apart and dive into that memory that you tend to push away and check out of. So we're still trying to come up with some names for this exercise because I definitely want to name it because I think it's such a powerful tool that can help a lot of people. So I'm gonna make a big ask from the audience. If you have some good ideas of a name for this exercise, please drop them down in the comments below because we are actively brainstorming and have not come up with anything decent yet. And yeah, give us some options. All right, so again, this is how this works. So basically, you are going to make yourself voluntarily drop into the memory that causes you symptoms of PTSD. Whatever haunts you, whatever this thing that you relive over and over again in your mind, I want you to actually voluntarily make yourself start thinking about it. Instead of turning away and trying to check out of it, make yourself sit in it, okay, as long as you can, and actually get in tune with that trauma. And while you are getting in tune with the trauma, I want you to pick your color palette. Ideally, you're already gonna have some paints there, so go ahead and while you are thinking of the memory, pick your palette, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and pick mine now. So now, one of the next things you're gonna wanna do is make sure you have some water. Just to let you know, I am painting in watercolor today as well. I'm not gonna be doing resin work for this because I think it probably is gonna work best for most people to do this with like watercolor and just acrylic paints. But you can do it with any medium that you find you resonate with. So as you're holding an image of this horrible event, you're literally just gonna start slapping paint on the canvas. You don't have to be intimidated. You just literally start smearing paint. That's it. That's it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. This is all about the process. It's not about the end result. You're still holding space for that event. You're still thinking about it, processing it, unpacking it, all the stuff. And some stuff might come up, that's okay. Just let it come up and let it fall away and just keep working on it. And once you start actually getting into the process a little more and start finding a flow, picking up a flow in the art, wherever it may be, let the trauma fall away and stop holding space for your memory of that event and really just shift your focus more towards the art and really just let the colors work through and just enjoy the process. Let yourself really just enjoy the process of creating. That's all it is, okay? So what you're gonna get out of this whole experience is you're gonna be able to process some of your trauma from that event. You're gonna be able to hopefully try some new things with some art that's going to, have some therapeutic value for you. And here's my idea behind this is over time, the more you practice this, the more you will desensitize yourself to your trauma. You're literally going to free yourself by forcing yourself to sit with your trauma and unpack it. And the process is what it's all about. But every once in a while, the artwork is going to turn out beautifully. It might not do that the first few times, but you practice this enough, you're gonna find that this horrible traumatic event that has haunted you for a portion of your life has now become this beautiful thing that you are freed from that no longer has power over you. And it's replaced by this hobby or healthy outlet that you now possess and now know how to do. So I truly think that there's some value in this. If you know anybody who's struggling with PTSD, make sure you get the word out and share this content with them. And give us some feedback. Let us know how this works for you. One of my favorite things, like I said, when doing this experiment or exercise, as I like to call it, is using watercolor. Because you can't control the way it's going to turn out. It's gonna do its own thing, which I really like. And this is gonna allow you to kind of pull out of processing trauma and really tap more into being interested in the canvas and the art a little more. So, I don't know. I find myself being distracted by the paint flow more when there's water in it. This stuff doesn't want to mix very well for whatever reason, and that's all right. That's all right. So at this point, like I said, I'm no longer thinking of the traumatic memory. I am just painting and enjoying myself and really just kind of tapping into my creativity, which for me personally means not thinking at all. That's just me though. That might not be your process. I think that there are many different ways to tap into the healing powers of art, using other avenues as well. And one of my favorites as of the last few years has been dance for me. For years and years, I was like one of those people that didn't really dance. I was the weirdo that was like standing still. And for whatever reason, when I let go of that shit though, it was just so freeing. It's hard to put into words, really. And I don't even know where it came from to begin with, but when you try something new and really just break out of routine and do something unexpected, it's just that, you don't know what you're gonna get. You just don't. So I say that to recommend trying new things. Go try an instrument that you've always wanted to play. You always wanted to play the drums or the clarinet or something like that. You only live once, right? So might as well take advantage of the now and actually do something about it, Yeah, so, and also these are not colors that I would normally paint with, so it's actually just kind of cool to, obviously I paint with a lot of blue, but yeah, so it's cool just to paint in a different palette also. So that's it. I'll probably just let this dry and come back and mess with it tomorrow. Hey, thanks for tuning in today to the video. And if you got something out of today's video, make sure you like it and share this content with somebody who could gain some value from it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.